What we're going to do today is we're going to rank all of the albums, not all of the albums I've heard this year, but all the biggest albums of 2024 so far. As the year goes on and I listen to more albums, I will be updating this tier list. But this is a baseline. Obviously, it isn't every record I heard this year, okay? Jack White's new record. I honestly thought this was fantastic. I thought this was amazing. Yeah, the guitar work on the Jack White album is superb. It's fantastic. And a lot of these songs sound like old White Stripes songs. Peggy. I also thought this album is fantastic. This album's amazing. God, the sound of it and how personal I think a lot of the songs on here are. Even if it is like a lot of the time Peggy's just doing funny JPEGMAFIA bars, at the end of the day, like I think what makes this album special is those personal moments and also just like the guitar, the strings when they come in. It's a banger of a record. It's so good. Yeet. I thought this was really good. I think it had this like really cool post-apocalyptic aesthetic that I thought was really fun. And yeah, no, this album feels heavy. It bangs. And this is the first Yeet album that I really liked. I know some people liked Afterlife. This was the first album personally that I really enjoyed. 21 Savage, chat, this album just kind of came and went, didn't it? It sounds like a 21 Savage album. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Chief Keef. As somebody who used to listen to Chief Keef a lot when he first came up, it was nostalgic to hear him like back in form like this and like him continuing to make the same stuff he got known for. I really loved it, honestly. I thought this album was so much fun. Is it great? I don't know. I'm going to put it in good for now. I thought it was really fun. Bring Me the Horizon? Yeah, I thought this album was good. I thought this album was fun. Kind of wish when they had a good idea and a good sound, I wish they kind of stuck with that at a certain point. I feel like they just kind of threw everything at the wall and they were like, yeah, some of these will work, some of them won't. But overall, I thought it was fun. KnxWorries. I think, yeah, this is the Anderson .Paak Knowledge collab record. I thought this was great. Impossibly smooth. The instrumentation's amazing. The grooves on here are fantastic. I don't think Anderson .Paak has ever missed. Has he? Silk Sonic. Pretty much all of his solo records are great. Malibu, Oxnard. I just listened to this Logic album yesterday, actually. He really glides over the beats on this album. I think that his rapping is on point. It usually has been, though. My only issue with it, and it ended up being a glaring issue, is that he mostly focused on one topic. A topic that he's been focusing on, I feel like, for his past 4 albums, which is that he doesn't care what the haters think. Oh my God, I don't care what the haters think. I'm on top. I've already accomplished everything I need to accomplish in this rap shit. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Bro, stop talking about it. It makes it seem like you really care. You can't keep telling us that you don't care when you keep talking about it. It was still good, though. I'm going to put the Logic album in good. Okay, Ice Spice. I've always liked Ice Spice's gimmick to a certain extent. But yeah, no, it's still not a great album. Honestly, the more I listen to it, I think maybe it was better than I thought. It was a better debut album than I thought it was going to be. And you know, is it all like nails on a chalkboard for me? No, but come on, I can't in good conscience say that this is any better than bad. The Marias, I thought this was good. This was good. Did it demand your attention? No, but it's a Marias album. Again, like another really smooth, sort of sensual record. I thought the songwriting was pretty decent. Knox Loose. Yeah, this is great. You know, Knox Loose has been one of the biggest hardcore bands for a while. I wouldn't say to the same extent as like something like Turnstile, because Turnstile definitely is making slightly poppier shit now, whereas Knox Loose is still making some really insanely heavy stuff. Yeah, no, this album's great. This album is fantastic. Brat, Charli XCX. Yeah, it's amazing. Come on. Of course, it has to be up there. The production from A.G. Cook and everyone who worked on this record, George Daniel, is obviously amazing. It's a club album that obviously had potential to have mainstream appeal. If you don't know, this is the first time I've seen people hating on a Charli XCX album because they're tired of hearing about it. Who would have known that would have happened in 2024, you know? But I'm happy for her. I think that this album is great. Do I think it's her best album? I think it's up there. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's clear as day her best record. How I'm feeling now might still be my favorite. I don't know. I would have to do like a ranking just for Charli albums, but I think Brat's fantastic. It's so good. Production is pristine. Again, Charli continues to push pop music forward, and electronic and club music, bringing that into the fold. She does that so well in this record, as she's done on previous ones. But I think one of the best parts about Brat is how genuinely personal and heartbreaking at points this album is. The Sophie track, the song about her feeling like she's out of time and her life is slipping away from her, and should she have kids or shouldn't she? The insecurity of stuff like what Lorde brought her, and constant comparisons to other artists. I feel like her bringing that all to the table in the middle of a club album is such a noble and honestly courageous thing to do in such a party record like that, you know? 21 Pilots. I thought this was really good. Top of good. I think that the more I listened to this album, the more I liked it. I will never love Tyler's rapping. I think that's just something I need to accept about 21 Pilots' music, is that I just sometimes Tyler will spit a verse and I'll want to throw my headphones across the room. The choruses are really strong. I think a lot of the songwriting moments are good. I've never really cared for the 21 Pilots lore, so I don't really give that much of a shit about that. But overall, sonically, I think it sounds great. Paul Meany, I think, did an amazing job with this record, as he did with Trent. So, yeah. Porter Robinson. I love this album. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. I think this album is so much fun. Obviously, I think Nurture was in my top 5 albums of the year when that record came out in 2021. I think this album is going to be up there as well. A very different album than Nurture. It's a lot more sugary. It's a lot more poppy, but also equally as heartbreaking as Nurture at certain points. There was a Dua Lipa album that came out this year. How many of you guys forgot that? In the middle of rap World War III, I guess, which isn't necessarily her fault that the Kendrick Drake beef started happening during this album. I think that's just one reason. Also, the album just isn't very good. I think the majority of the good songs off of this album were the singles. And even those paled in comparison to Future Nostalgia and how great some of the bangers on that album were. It just felt like watered down Future Nostalgia. It was not that adventurous. And the songwriting just wasn't very good. There was just nothing memorable about it. She needs to switch genres. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I talked about this before, guys. I wanted her to do another Future Nostalgia. Like, I wanted her to double down on that sound. But I think she just did it too late. I think doing it 4 years later just was not the right move. And also, I don't know. It just felt like that felt like a mistake. But I would have loved to hear her continue to do disco stuff if she was just still doing it at the level she was, like the funky 80s, 70s stuff. But I think she attempted to a couple times on this album, and Kevin Parker did an all right job with it, I guess. But I thought it was honestly just okay. Is it horrible? No, but it was also very much not memorable. Remi Wolf, great album. Loved it. The choruses are so memorable. I think that the hooks are unbelievably sticky, insane vocal performances. Instrumentation is great. I can't say enough good things about it. I think it's great. I love this album. Honestly, might move it up to here at a certain point. I think just a bunch of records came out around this time this album came out, and I listened to it nonstop for a week. I need to go back to it, but solidified itself in great. I think this album is insanely addicting. And I'm always looking forward to new Remi Wolf stuff, and this kind of blew my expectations out of the water, even though I love the singles. God, this might be controversial, honestly, but I think this Billie album is up there. I really do. The more I listen to this album, the more I love it. And I think that while it might be some of the less adventurous Phineas stuff, I feel like some of the cleanest production that Phineas has ever done, and some of the widest and biggest production. And but I think at the end of the day, of why this album isn't amazing and not great is that to me, and I don't know if you guys necessarily agree with this, but to me, this is the most I think I've ever listened to what Billie's saying in her music. Because I don't think that's ever really been the forefront of Billie Eilish's music. I think it was mostly a production thing. But this is the most I've ever really listened for Billie's lyrics, because she kind of made me listen. And yeah, I think it's the best songwriting on any Billie Eilish record. I really think this is awesome. I think it's an amazing album. So yeah, I'm gonna put it up there in amazing. I think her and Phineas outdid themselves. Gambino, dude, I don't know. I just think I kept going back to it because so many people were like, wait, no, this album's actually really good. It frustrates me that this is his last record, announce it to be his last album, but it's also just a movie soundtrack, and it feels like a movie soundtrack at a certain point. Nothing feels final about it. It doesn't feel like I have any closure over Childish Gambino and his music, and this being the last song on the last album under that name. I don't know. It just kind of bums me out, especially since the first half of the album, while it's all over the place, a lot of those tracks hit for me. In the second half, I just felt like, well, it was setting vibes for a movie. And I think that being your last album ever is just kind of feels like a cop-out. Just bummed me out. I don't know. I wasn't super into the Gambino record, unfortunately. Cassandra Jenkins, yeah, this is great. This is great. If you're looking for like some singer-songwriter music with a beautiful landscape, a beautiful ambient, spacious sound, I think go no further than Cassandra Jenkins. Beabadoobee, dude, this hit. I thought based off of the singles which I liked the singles. I didn't expect to like this album as much as I did, but she just nailed that 2000s anthemic pop rock sound so well on this record that I really fell in love with it. And I think the personal songwriting is a great touch. I think this album's great. Yeah, hell yeah, Beabadoobee. Camila Cabello, this was bad. I think, honestly, I know a lot of you guys would put it in awful, but what I respect about this album is that at least Camila tried to do something, okay? The attempt to do something I found admirable, especially since some of the production I actually really liked. Like, I think the production bells and whistles on this record I thought were fun. So yeah, did she just do poor impersonations of Charli XCX and FK Twigs all over this record? Absolutely. But you know, at least she tried to do something. She gave it her best effort. I just feel like she thought that stuff was cool and just didn't do a great job at replicating it. I hate this album. I hate the new Eminem record. The only thing redeemable about the new Eminem album for me, the only thing redeemable about it and why I'm not going to put it in awful is because I think the sentimental songs in the back half about his daughter, I actually liked Eminem doing those songs. Even the song with Jelly Roll. You know, once he got past the horrible execution of this concept record of Slim Shady trying to get him canceled and saying all of these like really awful, dumb 2013 alt-right talking points as a way to piss people off and constantly talking about, oh, cancel me, I bet you want to cancel me. It just, even as like a character and as a concept, it's still cringe, and it still ended up with some really horrible bars. Just because, like, but in theory, the concept is cool. I just feel like the execution was so terrible. So, yeah, I'm putting it in bad. No Hands, Joey Valence and Brae. I thought this was great. Unbelievably fun. How many quotables they managed to pack into this record and how many funny bars. Gonna put him in great. Gracie Abrams, I think I'm gonna put it in awful. I think this Gracie Abrams album is maybe the most boring album I've heard this entire year. What's strange about it is Taylor Swift coming off of one of the most boring albums of her entire career, maybe the most boring album of her entire career, was the most interesting, the only thing that made me sit up from my seat. The only thing on the entire album was Taylor Swift in her like 20-second verse. That was the most interesting thing about this entire album to me. And yeah, I just think maybe it would just be in bad if it was just boring, but I think it being boring on top of simply being Taylor Swift worship, I don't know. I'm going to put it in awful for now. I really, really was not a fan of this Gracie album. So Ravyn Lenae, I cannot say enough good things about this album. I think this Ravyn Lenae album is fantastic. It just came out last week. It's pop rock. It has reggae influences. but it is also like a neo soul album. It's contemporary R&B. Yeah, that's all I've been listening to these past couple days. So Zach Bryan, yeah, this is great. This is great. I think it's Zach Bryan's best album. It's weird because Zach Bryan kind of annoys me as a person. I don't know if you guys feel a similar way, but goddamn, is he a good country artist? He's just one of the few country artists out there that I will jump to listen to whatever he makes. And if he keeps making stuff like this, I'm going to continue to listen to it. So, yeah. Vince Staples, also great. Definitely one of the best hip-hop albums of the year. It's the most personal Vince Staples album, an artist that is like known to be really funny. That album actually gets really dark. And I love that sort of vulnerability on a hip-hop record because I feel like a lot of artists are afraid to do so. So, yeah. Charm, Clairo, also great. I think this is a really good album. Honestly, I felt like when I listened to it, I was a little harsh on it just because I felt like I wish, and I still do feel this way, I kind of wish Clairo stepped out of her vocal range just a little bit on this album because I felt like the melodies started to feel really recycled. And I felt like there wasn't enough focus on her songwriting. It just kind of felt like a vessel for these crazy arrangements in the instrumentals. But that doesn't necessarily make it that's not a huge problem because the instrumentals are that good. Denzel Curry, another guy who just can't miss. It's just heater after heater. And the features are great on this album too. Love the CupcaKke album. Unbelievably funny. There just is not another artist that does sex bars like CupcaKke does. It's constantly hilarious, constantly out of pocket. Also, CupcaKke can just genuinely rap, okay? Adrianne Lenker. I still think this album is amazing. I know I haven't talked about it all of that much. It's not really an album I can play front to back a lot because it's honestly devastating, okay? It's the song after song. Oh, my dog died, you know? My relationship is falling apart. Like, it's a devastating record. And as much as devastating as songs was too, I felt like I could listen to songs more, you know? This felt, especially the intro track, is just so intimate. It almost felt intrusive to me. It's hard for me to listen to, but that's a testament to how great of a songwriter Adrianne Lenker is, I guess. Okay, yeah. I think the Ariana Grande album's really good. Yeah, it's good. It's solid. I'll take it. You know, is it adventurous like Sweetener, like my favorite album by her? No. Is it as insanely consistent as Thank You Next? I don't think so. But it's got a lot of really good songs on it. I think it's fun. The diversity is fine. You know, yeah, there isn't much for me to say about it, really. I feel like it kind of trails off a little bit towards the end. But the bangers on it bang. Yeah, Chelsea Wolfe album's great. So spooky. Love the trip hop elements. Yeah, it kind of has a haunting vibe to it, and the songwriting is great as well. Beyonce Cowboy Carter. The more I listened to it and the more I went back to it, I felt like, especially at the end, it got a little too hectic for me. Maybe it kind of scrambled my brain. I felt like we lost the plot a tiny bit. a tiny bit, but you know, again, it's so consistently all over the place that I'm not going to knock it down that much for that. It's still at the top of great. I think it fringes on amazing. Okay, don't hate me too much because I'm not putting it in the amazing tier. I really like Faye Webster's other stuff, but this album, every chorus felt like it was the repetition of a line over and over and over again. It felt insanely one note. I don't know. I just maybe I'm being too harsh because my expectations were too high. Maybe I shouldn't put it in bad. Maybe I should put it in okay because it's not like the songwriting is awful or the vocal performances are awful or the instrumentals are bad. I just felt like this felt phoned in. So I guess it's okay. But I really felt like Faye Webster phoned this one in, unfortunately. God, I'm never going to like a Conan Gray album. I'm so sorry, guys. I am never going to like a Conan Gray album. It's a fear of mine. Every single time there's a new Conan Gray album, everyone's DMing me, telling me to listen to it. You're going to like this one. Oh my God, he switched it up. It's an 80s record. He's really committing to it. That I admire about it. This guy's not written a song that I like. The Future and Metro Boomin collab album, I thought this was good. Yeah, it's good. It's one of the better trap albums I've heard this year. A genre that is not really producing amazing stuff lately, unfortunately. I feel like a lot of the trap artists have kind of like let their foot off the gas. But this is the best Future album I've heard in a while. It's fun. Maybe it's a little too long, but I think overall it's a fun record. Might Delete Later, awful. 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 I mean, the best thing I can say about it is that some of the beats are good, but god damn, the bars are corny. This might be the most corny J. Cole album ever. And if you can't get that vibe that this album is going to be corny, this mixtape is going to be corny based off of the title, the album title, and the album cover, Might Delete Later, it sets it up for us. Like, obviously, everyone's going to just be like, yeah, delete it. He should delete it. Yeah. I'm still writing for this album. I still think that this album is really, really good. Yeah. Is it as good as their self-titled record or Cross? I don't think so, but I think to me it sounds like they're in rare form. Justin Timberlake, awful, terrible, doing like horrible R&B trends from the 2010s. I don't know why he decided to come back with this sound. I have no clue. Kali Uchis, great. Again, nobody does like the bilingual Spanglish thing better than Kali Uchis does. The seamless transition from English to Spanish is like nobody else can do it like her. It's so smooth. What's keeping this album from being an amazing for me is I just felt like the reggaeton stuff didn't really need to be in there. Okay, yeah, no, this is really bad. That's bad. I've never heard a more stale sounding Kid Cudi record. I'm gonna do something crazy. The Last Dinner Party album is amazing. The more and more I've listened to this album, the more and more I've respected how a debut band, like a band with their debut album, sounds this refined and this unique and like this intentional. You know, it's great. The collaboration of like, you know, the 2000s indie rock stuff, the ABBA influences, the 70s psychedelic rocks, the hooky pop choruses. It's all so good. Yeah, Lizzy McAlpine wasn't a huge fan of her other stuff before this album, and I ended up really liking this record. Yeah, it's got this amazing, like, woodsy, sort of breezy sound to it, and the songwriting is super solid. Absolutely outdid anything that she released previously with this record, and I was really impressed. Yeah, this is bad. Yeah, Taylor Swift, Tortured Poets Department, this is a bad album. This is one of the worst albums in her career. There's a few songs off of this album that I didn't mind, that I thought were hooky or at least entertaining. That's why I'm not putting it in awful. But it still sounded insanely uninspired. I feel like if you didn't already care about Taylor Swift's personal life and you aren't already one of those people that clawed yourself into every aspect of Taylor Swift and her life and where she is and who she dated and what she's eating for dinner and what her choice of sauces for chicken tenders. If you aren't somebody that's already subscribed to that, I find it hard for anybody who isn't one of those people to imagine them caring about the majority of the stuff off of this record, because she is splitting hairs, making really big deals out of things that I felt like were really small sections in her life. And I'm not saying she is invalid for those feelings if they affected her, but I feel like I've never heard a Taylor Swift album that sounded more over dramatized than this one. And that's saying a lot. I've heard Reputation, but I honestly felt like the stuff on Reputation, even as petty as a lot of it was, felt more worth writing about than a lot of the stuff on this initial release of Tortured Poets Department. But the anthology, I thought, honestly, there's some really good songs on it. I don't necessarily think it's a good album. I don't think it necessarily saves it, but I think it's a lot better. The peaks off of the anthology version is just a lot better than the original version of Tortured Poets Department. KnxWorries. This is great. This album is really good. I think overall, I think for a Leftovers album especially, it's really impressive how cohesive it sounds and how it really sounds like one complete idea. I'll still put it in great. I'll put it in great for now. It's the lower end of great. I feel like the production I thought was stellar. This is an album by The Smile, okay? I get it. It's an album by The Smile, and could you say there's songs in it? Arguable. There's some really cool ideas that I think are great. It also, I think, I wish there was more complete ideas. Tyla. Yeah, I thought this was, I think Tyla killed it with this debut. It really exceeded my expectations. Vampire Weekend, obviously amazing. Yeah, no, this is just like new life breathed into Vampire Weekend. After their last record that I thought was okay, a lot of people really didn't like it. I thought it was decent, but this album is next level. Maybe their best record ever. The songwriting is great. It's so smart. It's so clever. It's so mature. And the sound that they have on this record and the detail and the instrumentation and the percussion, I think is truly unbelievable. And hold on. Okay. I had to make their, So Vultures 1 is in the Kanye tier, and then Vultures 2 is in the Kanye somehow worse tier, okay? Both would be an awful, okay? You could say nice things about Vultures 1, that there's some cool production ideas, but I think that the verses from Kanye are so bad, and the stuff that Kanye does vocally on this album are so bad, that I think it makes it one of the worst albums of the year. That's what my opinion is, okay? If you're watching this over on YouTube, let me know what your favorite album of the year is and what I got wrong here as well, and like the video. And I'm just going to update this as I review the new records, and it'll be nice to have this little visual representation of how I feel about it. So, yeah.